Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. Today, we are going to be doing something that we haven't done for a long time, and a few people have asked me to do it again, so, I'm a person of the people, so that's what I'm gonna do. And that is taking a dive and looking into some literature written by men that is describing women, because it's always something. They always have something to say, and it's always like the most, there's no word for that. You know how like when you text, you just text with like punctuation? There should be like words, but there's not words. It's just a like, yeah, anyway, that's what we're going to be doing today. Most of these have been taken from the subreddit r/men writing women, but some of them are actually from a book that Kat was reading. So we have some real life examples. These are all real life examples, but these are ones that we specifically have found out in the wild. Before we get into it, I would like to say a massive thank you to today's patron of the day, Eliza. Eliza is one of my oldest patrons. They've been around since 2020, and I appreciate all of your support for all of this time so much. I am glad that you're enjoying content, and I hope that you enjoy this video and all those in the future as well. If you would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/savvycat. It starts at as little as £1 a month. Another quick thing before we do jump into the main event of the video, today's video is sponsored by Pride Counseling, and I will tell you more about them in a little bit. When women tell a story, they usually start with the point of it, assuming it has a point, which most often it doesn't. We men, on the other hand, the factual-minded sex, know how to tell a story properly. We always start at the beginning. Okay, there are multiple things. There are multiple things here. One, all stories have a point. Just because you don't think it's interesting or important doesn't mean it doesn't have a point. Maybe your story doesn't have a point, but I still have to be subjected to it because you think that it does. Two, alright, I do start my stories in the middle a lot of the time because I think that it's important to have context. Stories are more enjoyable when you have context. Also, I have ADHD, so I start here. I do this a lot, but that's not because I'm a woman. That's because I have ADHD and my brain is wonky. Regardless, starting in the middle, personally, I think helps the story because then you have context for what you're getting into when you go to the start, So it's like middle, start, middle, end is the best way to tell a story, I think. It helps you remember where the story begins, and it helps gauge, how much of the story they're interested in and how much to tell and where you want to start. Some of the best stories start in the middle. You want to know a good example of that? Star Wars, right? Firstly, written by a man, and the original movies literally just started in the middle of an entire story with absolutely no context at all. They make no fucking sense. They make no sense without the prequels, but the prequels make no sense without the middle. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation, right? There's no winning. Stories are more enjoyable when you're at the start with the context of the middle, and stories are more enjoyable when you're in the middle with the context of the start. There's no proper way. There's no correct way. But I like the middle first. When I'm being told a story and when I am telling a story. I just find it more enjoyable that way, personally. And no matter which way you tell a story, that is about personal preference. And it has nothing to do with being factual-minded or the superior sex. It's got nothing to do with gender at all. It's just a preference and the way that your brain works and tells the time. So, Maria, a biracial girl who almost always wore her hair in a tight ponytail and always sported a pair of glasses that made her look just a tad bit nerdy, although she never quite achieved the matching reputation, partially on account of her ample bosom, asked me to dance. That was such an unnecessary description there. You could just say, Maria, who had a tight ponytail and spotted glasses, asked me to dance. You could just say that. Or you could say something about her personality, something that you know about her. Maria, the shy girl from my maths class, who doesn't really say very much. I don't know, something else. There's more important things than the fact that she wears glasses and has boobs. And on that, what do you mean she doesn't pull off being a nerd because she has ample bosom? You can't be a nerd and have boobs now? Is that that's a crime? If you have big boobs, you can't be a nerd. We all know the rules of being a nerd. Glasses, tight ponytail, no boobs. Those are the rules. Your boob size plays a part in your intelligence and your interests, obviously. Those are all really interwoven. They correlate a lot. This is just science. It says so in a book, so it must be true, because you should always trust everything that you read. I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about therapy, something that we all need. All jokes aside, I have been in therapy for a long time. I went to a therapist when I was very young, when I was like 9 or 10, and I took a break. And then I went back into therapy when I was 14 and am still in therapy now. I actually have therapy in an hour, so yay me. I love therapy. I think that it's so helpful. It has helped me so much. I have learned so much about myself, and I am able to work through so much more of my life, and it's just something that I really love and I really recommend to everyone. So that's why I am excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Pride Counseling. Pride Counseling will ask you a number of questions and then match you with a professional licensed therapist whom matches all of your needs and whom they think will be a good fit for you in helping you in the best way possible. All of the therapists, counselors at Pride Counseling have relevant background for helping queer people, which is really cool. You know, a lot of people can feel a bit insecure about going into a new therapist when they are queer because, you know, that's a struggle that some people can't relate to, and some people have fear around, you know, being queer and coming out to anyone, even if it is a therapist. So I think that it's great to have a service that is specifically for queer people. So once you are matched with a therapist, you can contact them however you want. You can text them, you can call them, you can do video calls, etc. Like always with a therapist, if you don't get along with them, if it doesn't feel like a fit, doesn't feel like it's helping, you can always opt to switching a therapist who may fit you better. With Pride Counseling, you get the same quality and professionalism that you would get with a in real life, in office therapist. They go through a process of matching you with someone who fits you perfectly, because obviously it's online, so they have way more options. You aren't limited to the office that's like closest to you in your area. And if you would like to try Pride Counseling, then if you use my link in the description or on screen now, pridecounseling.com/kiwi, then you will get 10% off your first month. All right, thank you Pride Counseling for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. Oh, I forgot what we were about to do. I'm glad I have therapy in an hour. The water was sucking at her breasts, nursing at them. It desired to have them. It was eager. It could not wait. It wanted her now, at once. It could not be put off. We're talking about just water, like inanimate water. Just like the thing. This is, I understand personification, and personification can be a wonderful tool. But this is how you want to personify water? This is what you're gonna do? Water is horny? That's not the emotion I would give to water. Definitely a choice. I hate the way this is worded. I hate it. I want context, but I also don't think context will help at all. If anything, I feel like context would make it weirder. There's like no context that could be brought in here that makes this not an absolutely like ridiculous, wild thing to say, because what? How does your brain come up with this and then write it and then it's reread and edited and published, and like no one thought that this was a absolutely batshit thing to say? I love that the author is called Dick though. That's kind of funny. That's quite hilarious. That's really fitting. I love that. That's brilliant. Attend any 2-year-old's birthday party. I don't like where this is going, actually. I'm not a fan of where this is going. Attend any 2-year-old's birthday party and notice how little Kimberly will engage you, play with you, flirt with you without any need for language. I'm sorry, did you just say if you go to a 2-year-old's birthday party, the the toddlers there will play with you and flirt with you. Like, they will play with you. As in they'll play games because they are children. But the insinuation you are now putting under the word play with a toddler is disgusting and horrifying. Don't ever go to a children's birthday party. Ever. Please. Or don't ever be around children, period. What were you doing at a 2-year-old's birthday? I know this is fiction, or I'm assuming it's fiction, but, fiction comes from your brain. These are thoughts that you have, and, you write somewhat true to who you are as a person. Like, I would never, ever even fathom or comprehend or think these words to put on paper, and yet he did, and wrote this as a normal part of this book. So don't be around children. Don't attend a child's birthday party. Don't be within 10 feet of a child. Just stay away. Turn yourself in right now, because no. A 2-year-old's not trying to flirt with you. A 2-year-old's never trying to flirt with you. If you ever view your interaction with a child as them flirting with you, go immediately to jail. Immediately. Turn yourself in. That is not normal. No, you should never view an interaction with a child like that, because it is never like that. Especially a 2-year-old flirting. They don't know what that means. What are you on? What's going on? She smiled now for the first time, which made her look a lot more childlike than she had seemed at first. She couldn't have been more than 15 or 16. With its slight curl, her upper lip pointed up at a strange angle. I seemed to hear a voice saying, "Touch me." The voice of the woman on the phone. I wiped the sweat from my forehead with the back of my hand. Ew. Jail. That's disgusting. A teenager smiling at you should never, ever invoke any sort of feeling of lust and desire, ever. Unless you are a teenager and you are in an established relationship with this other teenager. That is the only time ever. And I know that you are neither of those things. I hope. I know that you're an adult, and I hope you're not in an established relationship with a teenager, because, yikes, no, that's not what we're gonna do. And again, I don't give a fuck if it's fiction, because you're writing this as it's a normal thing. A lot of men write their fantasies in their novels, and it's gross. You can't be just talking about a 15, 16-year-old smiled at me and made me want to touch her. That's vile. That's disgusting. Don't fantasize about it, and don't give it to other men to fantasize about. All right? No, jail. Jail. Go straight to jail. Do not pass go. Jail. The first flirtation with civilization. The flirtation of a virgin before her first kiss. Still virginity and already sin. That's true, said Juju. Tanaka, a girl I worked with, had her first orgasm riding a bicycle when she was still a virgin. Everyone started discussing Tanaka's orgasm, and Tamina asked Bibi, "May I make a phone call?" Okay. There is this really weird notion within some community of men that seem to believe that anytime there's anything between a woman's thighs, she's going to orgasm, which, makes a lot of sense considering how bad at sex most of them are. That you don't know shit. Okay, there have been few instances of women climaxing when riding a bike. It is not impossible. It has not never happened, but it is very, very rare. For the most part, riding a bike is uncomfortable. It can hurt. It is not a pleasant experience for anyone of any gender, as far as I'm aware. It's not the most comfortable thing. And we need to let go of this ridiculous idea that a woman riding a bike or a freaking horse is going to cause any sort of pleasure. It is not true. It is baseless. I know how you came to the conclusion, but you're not right, and you've never spoken to a woman about their own pleasure ever. Before you sleep with another person, please talk to them, ask them what they like, and listen. Because you're giving the vibes that you would not be good in bed at all. So you should ask. Listen, Boccaccio, said Goethe, why are you always bragging that you're a misogynist? Because misogynists are the best of men. All the poets reacted to these words with hooting. Boccaccio was forced to raise his voice. Please understand me. Misogynists don't despise women. Misogynists don't like femininity. Men have always been divided into two categories: worshippers of women, otherwise known as poets, and misogynists, or more accurately, gynophobes. Worshippers or poets revere traditional feminine values such as feelings, the home, motherhood, fertility, sacred flashes of hysteria, and the divine voice of nature within us. While in misogynists or gynophobes, these values inspire a touch of terror. Worshippers revere women's femininity, while misogynists always prefer women to femininity. Don't forget, a woman can be happy only with a misogynist. No woman has ever been happy with any of you. What? What? What did I just read? I'm speechless. I am baffled. You effectively just said misogynists are gay. Does gynophobe not mean that you don't like vaginas? What is... Gynophobia is an intense and irrational fear of women. So you've said misogynists are afraid of women and don't like femininity, but the only people that women will be happy with are misogynists. The only people women will be happy with are men who hate women and hate femininity. You just said that. Surely you should just be with a man. I don't understand if you hate women and are irrationally afraid of women, why you would want to date a woman and why they would be happier with you. Poets like feelings and motherhood and fertility and all of that, which also was a bit, stereotypical and not great either. I feel like both of these are not the best to be in. There should be, just a person who sees women as an equal and loves everything about them from their femininity to not. But, what do I know? What do I know? That's so baffling. Personally, I want to be with someone who doesn't hate women and who views me as an equal. Just me personally. And I can say that on behalf of all of the other women I know as well. I'm so baffled by this. And now we are moving back into the Reddit posts. I literally can't get myself to sit through movies that don't have women. I'm like, where the fuck are the women? Why are there so many men? This is boring as fuck. Goodbye. Even if it's historically accurate. As everyone knows, women were invented in 1990. I would like you to give me an example of when in history there have been no women ever. We kind of need women in the movies to be historically accurate. Like, sure, there are some professions in which women weren't a major part, and I stand by the fact that it's freaking boring. It's boring. I don't want to watch a movie that's full of men. I don't give a fuck if they slightly modify the fucking gender and race of people from the time. It does not matter. I do not care. If at that period of time, everyone in that room was a white cishet man, I don't care if they changed that a bit because, I'm not watching it for history. I'm watching it for entertainment. I'm not watching especially like fictional television and movies to be historically accurate because it's fictional. It can be set in a make-believe parallel universe. It's not in this universe. It can be based on reality. It can be based on historical events, but it's not this universe. It's like Game of Thrones. People like, at that time, there are dragons in that fucking show. I don't think it matters. All right? It doesn't matter. People were misogynistic and homophobic at that time. Like, it's not real though, is it? It's not set in this universe, is it? Because there's fucking dragons. Dragons aren't real. So they can create their whole entire new universe. In the Game of Thrones universe, they could have made it so homophobia wasn't real. And it doesn't fucking matter. It's not real, right? You get to choose what isn't real in your fictional universe. So I don't care. I don't care about historical accuracy. It's not real, so it's not historical. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. Anyway, if you think women didn't exist before 1990, then everyone was gay. And women spawned out of nowhere. Just one day. There we go. Women exist now. Strange how defenseless she had felt without underwear. She had hardly been able to think of anything else. Yet when she was in love with Will Temple, she had liked to go around with no panties on. It made her feel sexy all day, sitting in the library or working in the lab or just walking down the street. She would fantasize that Will showed up unexpectedly in a fever of passion, saying, "There isn't much time, but I've got to have you, now, right here." And she was ready for him. But without a man in her life, she needed her underwear like she needed shoes. Men, please stop writing your weird fantasies in books. Because, bro, no. Like, some women feel empowered by not wearing underwear. And they can feel sexy by not wearing underwear. Good for them. That's fine. That's up to them. But to imply and to say that she only doesn't wear underwear when she's in a relationship and she spends her entire day, no matter where she is or what she's doing, she's at work, when she's in the library, when she's going grocery shopping, when she's doing anything, all she is doing is hoping and wishing for her boyfriend to come over and to have sex with her. No. People aren't in the workplace, in their fucking like lab, being like, oh, I hope my man shows up. He's all I can think about. That's not happening. I'm sorry. I know that's what you wish was happening and what you obviously fantasize about happening, but it's not. All right? Women exist outside of you, and when they're in the relationships, you aren't their entire brain, and you shouldn't want to be their entire brain. Women have other interests and other things on their minds, and that is a good thing. So please chill out. She's not thinking about you, and she's not wearing underwear for her. Also, not for you, it's for her. Because she wants to feel sexy. It's not got shit to do with you. It might do, but like not during the day, you know? She needed underwear like she needed shoes. That's hilarious. I also come from a place where we wear bare feet a lot. We don't wear shoes a lot. So she needs underwear like she needs shoes is kind of an irrelevant statement because I don't need shoes. I go out without shoes all the time. I don't, living in London, but back home, I went out without shoes all the time. Back in New Zealand, barefoot, we're all fucking barefoot, all right? That's irrelevant, but a fun fact. Anyway, I have therapy now, so I'm going to leave. I hope that you enjoyed this video. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Toulouse, Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Robbie, Ikazel, Kai, Jessica, Eldo, Ida, Quia Corey, Raven, Danielle, Elias, Evie, Nyx of the Eternal Night, JD Creeper, Rin, and Julie. I love and appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as bonus mini podcasts, outtakes, vlogs, live streams, etc. I really appreciate it, so thank you so much. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes.